Hello, welcome to day 2 of week 9 of Split 1 of the 2019 OPL. I'm Nick Boy Richardson, and I am joined, as always, and I would be surprised if they weren't here, by Spawn and Ejim.
Jake!
Jake's
We're not always here. Sometimes I'm over there.
You're always in the room,
Yeah.
That is actually correct.
the vicinity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great detective skills, guys. Really love this
We're
stuff.
starting the show off on a high, as always. You know, you come here for the best, and we try and deliver consistently.
The problem is, as soon as they turn the cameras on, you just have to start talking. Like, we can't be
Wow, is
quiet.
that-
We can't just sit here.
Yeah, let's just
and
sit here and
we
chill.
should experiment with it.
Let's change it up a
We've
little
got
bit.
4 segments.
All right, let's see what happens for the rest of the night. And anything could happen because your tum's feeling a little funny.
Yeah, I haven't had a good morning, to be honest. Went and got some nice breakfast.
Yep.
Well, at least I thought it was nice breakfast.
Was it nice at the time?
It was great at the time. You know, I love myself some Eggs Benedict with smoked salmon.
Hey,
Like,
smoked
that's actually
salmon.
one of my
Some
best. One of my favorite meals. Are you gonna hang shit on me? I'm sick. I don't have time.
I'm not
for you
hanging.
today.
I'm not
Anyway,
hanging
regardless.
anything on anyone.
But then I went to gym and it was really hot in the gym. And then afterwards, I just had an upset stomach.
Got a
and-
cooked egg in there now.
Yeah. So
and some salmon. Don't forget.
Don't forget the salmon.
can we pretend he's not here?
Look, I try very hard every week.
So yeah, I've had an upset stomach.
So anything could happen. Well, I had a terrible evening, or afternoon, because when we were upstairs getting dressed, I thought, like an idiot, that I could put my jeans on over my shoes. Because I was wearing shorts.
Because
So
he took his shorts off first over his shoes. And I was like, that's engineer. Like, that's,
yeah,
that's
I'm
genius.
like, I'll save some time here. I'll just take the shorts off and then I'll just pull these skinny jeans on over my shoes. Got stuck halfway.
Yeah.
I then was like, well, all the boys are here because we all get changed at the same time, obviously. It's not weird. And then I was like, I'm going to double down. So I just started like pulling them up
Yanking
harder.
them.
And it just got like more and more wedged. And I ended up on the floor, like having to reverse them and pull them. It was all very
I
embarrassing.
saw none of this.
I know, it was pretty cool. So,
You've got too much like the angle to get across, like the cross section of
Yeah.
like ankle to like toe.
I think
That's just.
You need zips.
That's not it.
I do need tips. I think I used to do it.
As a child.
Yeah,
or-
like well, because when I grew up, I mean, it was like the early '90s, and big baggy jeans were very much in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was like I could fit my shoulders through those things. So
But yeah, all sports
screwed up.
tracksuit pants that like they expect you to be able to do that with
Exactly.
have zips on the side. So maybe we just need jeans with zips on the side.
I feel like Nick does have jeans with zips on the bottom.
I do. My
Yeah.
the ones with the they have all the rips.
Ah,
There's
the
little
cool
zip on the bottom.
jeans.
Yeah,
and
cool
you can
jeans.
you can pull them up as hard as you want because what's one more rip in
It
that pair of
just
jeans?
doesn't matter at all. Yeah,
Absolutely.
they're barely jeans. They're just a string of denim that I wrap around my waist. And speaking of string of denim hanging around our waist, we got games today.
Yep.
Smooth.
Very smooth. I thought so. Would you like to talk through it, Jake, or should we save your time and get Bryce to do it?
Yeah, Bryce can do it.
Okay, so first game of the day is going to be Direwolves versus the Bombers in an interesting one. Chiefs versus Mammoth, which I think is probably going to be game of the day. Some would say AV versus Order probably means the most for standings here in the 4 games we have. And then Legacy versus Gravitas is going to be the last game we have.
So you said Direwolves versus Bombers, Bryce. Interesting game. What,
Yep.
what do you find interesting about that one in particular?
Interesting, it's just interesting. Is really all I've
Just
got.
reach for a word at
It's
the
just-
time,
yeah,
and
that's the
interesting
one-
is the one that came
That's
out.
the one I felt. I've
Wishes
also-
he could take it back pretty
I
quickly.
could reach for things and get a string as well, but
I feel like a couple of weeks ago when Direwolves got a win, we were all like, oh, the Direwolves game. And then it turned around and we were like, oh my God, the Direwolves game was actually the game of the day. And we thought, so, you know, it could be. Could be.
yeah, maybe
Stranger
that's a
things
bloody
happened.
94-minute nail biter
What if it is?
of
Maybe
a,
that's
of a
the
game.
that makes Gravitas miss their plane back.
Maybe it is. Look,
What's
one of the
the-
few Melbourne teams that didn't miss their flight, so maybe
We
it's
didn't
our
miss a
time.
flight, thank you very much.
I know.
The flight was...
Missed us.
Yes.
We were actually on your flight, but anyway.
What's the longest OPL game that's been played?
There was like a 72-minute thriller between YSSC and Team Immunity that
yes.
Denian played in, and it was terrible. Atlas and I casted it,
That's
and
too much.
I would like to say that it was entertaining, but we actually went crazy halfway through that game, and I don't think I've recovered my sanity ever since.
Yeah, no, you can't be entertaining for 72
That was
minutes.
2014 autumn, round of 16, I
Yeah,
think.
I will say, caveat, that is pre-OPL.
No, winter, round of 16. Winter, round of 16.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take it.
I have fond memories of winter.
That's a weird thing to say.
No, because he won.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant just like the season in
I mean,
general.
also, it is the optimum season.
I mean,
It is
I
actually
agree with
is.
that. Everyone, I think everyone here agrees with it. Rusty's nodding. Pyra, indifferent as always. Speaking of weather, and before we move on, I looked into last night on the way home in the Uber whether or not showering and lightning is dangerous.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Update.
Mythbusters did a whole thing on it, and apparently it's legit. Like,
Oh.
It is dangerous.
Yeah, that they sort of like
So someone on
arced lightning
Mythbusters-
through the pipes, and then
One of them died.
The test dummy caught on fire.
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
I know. I could
catch
caught
on
on fire
fire in
last
the
night while I was
shower.
perving on those two people
and
across
then
the road.
turning off the light wouldn't have done anything because
Yeah.
there would have been a different light source in there. They would have been able to see you.
I was
all
about
over
to
again.
say, did they control for light levels in the room, or is that like...
Totally, yeah.
Yeah,
That,
okay.
that would be like, who is that flaming pervert through the window watching us? All right. There is not a smooth segue for this, but of course, this weekend we are working on Recall and Restore in conjunction with Headspace and Lavar. It is all about bringing awareness to mindfulness and rock climbing, apparently, if you're Bryce. As you can see on the screen right now, if you go to LeagueOfLegends.com, you can check out information on how to balance your screen time, the importance of sleep and gaming, and healthy electronic gaming habits, and also for those in your family who don't do the gaming, understanding gaming, so that you can game without the pressure of people going, why aren't you doing rock climbing? And it's like, well, look, hang on, I'll do it in the break. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I could
That's what it is.
get behind a cheeky rock climbing in the break.
Sure, why not? Later on in the show, we'll be doing another Nick box, so please send in your questions to asknickboy@gmail.com. And the segue I was actually looking for. Wait, no. One more thing before that, and then I'll get to it. Spicy tips.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, because this...
Is it actually spicy
are we gonna
tips
spicy
or is
day?
it mango tips again?
Well, it can't be mango tips again. They'll need to run to the shop and get something
Oi!
else. Ah.
Mustang Sally!
Oh no, I'm with Pyra.
Yeah.
That always ends
And-
badly for both of us.
Bruce
I mean,
Paul!
I've been doing pretty good recently.
Yeah.
You're the one who's defected.
Okay,
and
that's
you've
true. I
gone
will
and
drag
gone
you
off
down.
Left field.
Guys, I'm not
Yeah.
sure that I actually did choose Mammoth. I'm
Yeah.
tempted.
Hold on,
Maybe-
this happened
maybe
to
there's some
me, and I
sabotage
got
here.
bloody... I got cooked. So.
I trust. I
Well,
trust-
Bryce, you got free points out of that.
I
though.
trust Loz because every single time someone goes, fellas, I didn't tip that one, Loz just walks into
Yeah.
the room and
I'm
goes,
good.
yes,
I'm
you
looking it up.
did.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah.
She's got receipts.
I'm happy to be proven wrong.
Interesting day of spicy
Yeah.
tips. I think we should bring
Absolutely.
back the chilies.
I think, well, do we have the chilies? Maybe the chilies are around. We should bring back the chilies.
Yeah.
I'll bring them back.
no, I
feel pretty
did.
confident.
Yeah, you did.
You did. There you go.
messed
See?
up.
No.
How do you not remember who you
You
tipped?
never go against Lauren. All right, well, we'll find something to eat by the end of the night. And the segue I was looking for, speaking of flaming perverts, let's throw to the desk with Pyra and Rusty.
How do you follow that up?
Denial?
Yeah. Okay, let's go with denial.
Start?
I like it. You know what I won't deny, though? The start of this next game, it is Direwolves taking on the Bombers, and this is the top and the bottom of the table, so it's about as lopsided as you can get.
This is going to be a hard game
Yeah.
for the Direwolves, and I have a couple questions, of course, that we need to ask. It's important, first
I have
of all.
more than a couple of questions,
So-
but none of them relate to the game, so let's talk about
Let's
yours.
set the table first for both of these teams. Bombers are still in a must-win game, so regardless of opponent, they have to win. Direwolves, they don't have anything to aim for regarding the split standings. They are stuck in the
Right.
last place or 7th place position at best, but they're still improving. They're still looking for the wins, and they're still looking to develop and grow. The thing is, what I'm looking for, and my next and final question is, what are they cooking? Because it's the Bombers. And if ever there was a time to bring out something that maybe you've just been thinking about or testing, or you even saw from another region that people may not expect you to go for, now's that game, Direwolves, and I want to see it.
And they might just do it. Now, you mentioned must win, and for those of you looking at the scoreline and wondering, why is that? It's because Chiefs are only one game behind and own the head-to-head over Bombers. There's a chance that Bombers, if they drop a game, Chiefs keep winning, could potentially drop to second place. And after the dominance they've shown in the Gauntlet, that's not what they want to do. Into the picks and bans we go. However, Alistair, Lysandra, and Nico banned away on blue side by Direwolves. And the Bombers, they take away the Galio, the Nocturne, and the Braum.
Yeah, Braum, Nocturne. Nocturne Galio, of course, being a combo, both taken off the board. Jarvan Galio is one of the other bigger combos that we've been seeing specifically in the OPL. Is not going to be available as well. With that Galio removed, the Thresh is going to be the instant lock-in here. So they've gone for support priority Direwolves. This does leave open some supports, but I'd say that most of the important ones have been banned away. You notice that Alistar, Braum, and Galio were gone. So I'm curious with where Bombers go, and if it's something like the Rakan with the Lucian that we actually saw last night.
Well, they do get to pick up the Lucian, yes, indeed. We've seen a bit of that coming through already as teams have kind of focused on other bans instead of the Lucian. So it goes into the hands of FBI. What are they paired up with? Do they round out their bottom lane here? Potentially risk having more supports thrown their way.
You could go for a priority jungler if you like. Bombers are the kind of team that may go for a later rotation of it, however, and make sure they get a little bit better of a matchup. They go for the support option. Now, you'll note that tanks are always going to be the highest priority, but this time, Rogue forced onto the Tahm Kench, and it's not that it's a bad pick for him. It's just that it's not his signature Alistar or Engage champion.
So that's a bit curious for me because they already knew what the bans were going to be after seeing this. And why wouldn't they go for the Ezreal to pair it with a catch that we've seen so frequently, Rusty?
It's just because Lucian's such a high priority AD carry, right?
Higher than? Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ezreal is super strong with the Tahm Kench. Ezreal Braum has been seen as one of the best, like, almost unbeatable combos right now as well. But the Braum was gone, and the Lucian's just strong enough to warrant it regardless.
Fair enough. Now, Direwolves do round out their bottom lane. They throw Andrew onto a Vayne, so that's a big old hyper carry. And Getback is back on the LeBlanc, and I want to see him getting more active in the early game.
I would like to see that as well, for sure. He had a rough last game against a Zillion of all matchups for the LeBlanc as well to just go even in lane with, and the response is already locked in from the Bombers, but the Vayne, very early lock in here for Direwolves. They know the bottom lane matchup, so I can understand why he's gone for it. That's a lot of tank shred already in the composition.
Yeah, trying to knock him down quick and early. I want to see what the Direwolves can bring with this. Into ban phase 2 we go, though. Vladimir removed from the pool. It's back over to Direwolves.
Yeah, Vlad taken away. We'll have to see the direction they choose to go. Vlad's one of those champions that we're just seeing all the time, everywhere right now. He's just so strong. And
he's omnipresent.
Yeah, and if you're good at Vladimir, you can probably weather most storms in top lane, no matter how hard the matchup becomes. But there are still a lot of counters up there. And banning the Vladimir, I am curious to see where Bombers go, because they should be picking their top laner for.
I like the ban of the Kha'Zix, too, because I think it was you or Jake who pointed out the other day that it has been a really big thing for Balkan, even though his champion pool seems to be pretty deep. He's had the most success.
It's about comfort, right? Like, he's got the Kha'Zix, he's got the Evelynn, two of his most comfortable champions. I don't think that the composition they've gone for here goes hard into the Evelynn, but when you've got a Ryze who can side lane, it's always a possibility.
But they end up going for the Elise. And I believe Balkan, I don't know if he's picked that up. I know we've seen it in the hands of Spooks this split. I'll have to look that one up into the pregame. But that is a pretty good, solid early ganking potential champion. We could be seeing some action down bot.
Yeah, he's got the Kha'Zix, he's got the Lee Sin. He's that type of player, and Elise definitely fits very naturally into the wheelhouse of Balkan.
Yeah. Ooh, the Xin Zhao I didn't even notice for Ubisoft. And they throw in the Yorick to round things out. So this is an interesting composition.
Yeah, the Xin Zhao secured. I am super curious to see how he performs in this matchup. He's chosen to into the Elise. The thing is, a lot of Bombers champions can get into his circle of where he cannot be damaged with the use of the ultimate. So they can actually traverse that quite nicely, but what it does provide is an incredibly strong early game skirmishing threat.
Talk skirmishing now. The gauntlet's thrown up in the top side. Mimic grabs himself the Fiora into Biopanther. Rusty, can you talk me through this matchup?
I've always thought that if you're going to go for a Yorick in your top lane and you have to pick it blind, you've got to dedicate 2 bans to the top lane. I think if you go for the Kha'Zix and just the Jax, there is still 2 to 3 options for top laners that can go into Yorick and have a good time.
And Mimic is a scary top laner.
Mimic is fantastic right now. He's in very good form. One of the best 2 top laners that I would say next to Swiper in the league right now. And they've just given him the Fiora into the matchup. They banned the Jax, but we've even seen Gravitas beat teams into the Jax with the Yorick themselves. So actually the Fiora is a harder matchup, but it is much more into the direction of split pushing. And Bombers right now, I would say, have crafted themselves one hell of a 1-3-1 composition with a lot of strength behind it.
Well, how about the Direwolves on their side? Like, how do you expect them to try and win this game? Because I look at this lineup and I think this is a bit of a mishmash of power.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways they could have done this, of course. We can see the summoner spells on their screens. It just switches to cleanse for LeBlanc at the last second. But that cleanse means it isn't a teleport, which means it isn't going to be a split push 1-3-1 type player, and that they want to play much more of the 1-4, put Biopanther in the side lane, and really focus on the 4-man group that they have, and I think they need to be on the offensive. You know, if I highlighted one thing that the Direwolves need to succeed, it's to have tempo of the 4-man on the map to alleviate pressure elsewhere, and I mean, that probably works with Bombers having a 1-3-1 comp.
Fair enough. All right, joining us to talk about the start of this game, it is once more the Direwolves coach, Charlie. Welcome back to the desk.
How's it going, guys?
Good stuff, man. And you're up against Bombers. This is the top team of the league. You've pulled out a couple of different style of champions. How you feeling? How you liking your chances here?
Well, we've got pretty much 5 champions that we've practiced all week, so I think our chances are as good as they could be.
Fair statement.
Yeah, I mean, the champions are definitely comfort. They've been playing these for a little while. The Yorick is the one that we have to look at in the top lane.
Yep.
Biopanther, he's got himself a pretty hard matchup, you would have to say, in the Mimic now. Is this something that was in your mind during the draft phases? The Jax was banned.
Yeah, well, the Jax is banned to just make Yorick a better blind pick, but When they pick Fiora, what we need to do is we just need to play Yorick a little bit differently. We can't necessarily play him to be a side laner for the whole game. You kind of more want to like get some ghouls, get the maiden, and then sort of group and just team fight with him because he can work in those small skirmishes, especially earlier on in the game.
That's fair. Let's shift our attention a little bit to the mid, though, because I think one thing that we pointed out yesterday the Direwolves weren't able to do very successfully was utilize LeBlanc in the mid lane to get pressure onto Avant's mid lane. Is this something you talked to the team about, trying to get back onto the more offensive early on?
Yeah, there was certainly missed opportunities in our mid-jungle play yesterday. We definitely needed to target the mid lane more and hit it with ganks, do stuff like trade flashes, just allow LeBlanc to have more breathing room in the lane. Xin Zhao LeBlanc is a really, really good early 2v2. And against Ryze, when he doesn't have cleanse, he's running phase rush, like he's definitely killable this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess for those at home as well, just elaborate a little bit more on what phase rush means for killing him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have Aftershock, which is the main thing. If he can't W you, then he doesn't proc Aftershock, so it means he's less tanky. Phase rush means that, like, obviously he can run away if he gets 3 spells off, but I would say Aftershock is the more survivable one, which people usually take in the LB matchup.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I do want to ask you about as well is the choice of the Vayne down in the bottom lane. Now, you saw the 2v2, but to lock in a Vayne very early, to me, seems like a risk in draft.
Yeah, well, Vayne's, like, historically pretty decent into Lucian and very good into Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench has a very hard time getting onto Vayne. She can keep her at range, she can tumble the tongue. And Pressy Attack Vayne actually has a decent laning phase against Lucian. If you're really good, you can do stuff like tumble the Lucian Q, but you can generally duel. And Fresh is the carry in this lane. Like, Fresh manhandles the lane. He keeps Tahm Kench at range. Tahm Kench not taking cleanse, so he can definitely get one shot.
All right, well, definitely thought this one through. Looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out. Thank you for joining us, Charlie. Best of luck. Okay, early on starts. Looked like a couple sides were poking at each other a little bit, but this is the first gank here as Balkan walks in. Getback's already there. He's just making a show of force.
This is something that you'll see a lot from Balkan, and actually a lot of junglers now as we start to see that rise globally. But it's the double scuttle type of pressure. You know, like one thing that... And you'll notice this trend, as we may have to hold that thought.
There's the early
the hook.
Summoner spell and flashing out. FBI goes a-hopping away. Rogue taking serious damage, and this is that skirmishy bottom lane that Charlie was talking about.
Yeah, we'll hold that thought on the top side of the map in Balkan's movements, because bottom lane going exactly how Charlie said it could be right now. The Thresh is the person who has to control the laning phase, absolutely right. And the Flay is the big tool that starts it off. You don't need to use the hook. Or Tahm Kench is just designed to counter you, right? So hits the Flay, chunks them down, press the attack procs come in, and then the hook onto the Tahm Kench afterwards brings him back, forces the second summoner spell out of FBI.
All right, now we check back in with Balkan up to the top, looking to bully out Bio. Still holding on to his flash. He's stuck under the tower. He sees this happening. Here's the dive in coming. He flashes quick into the cocoon and into the back. Mimic's going to take another shot. There's first blood going, and they juggle the aggro well.
Yeah, with Mimic starting the juggle also because the cocoon gets flashed. They're still able to get the kills and they don't trade their health bars at all. That's a big win for Bombers. Elise is one of those champions that you will see run around on Summoner's Rev, diving people willingly at earlier stages in the game because you can reset turret aggro. But even with the Fiora tanking it, they execute, no one dies. Brilliant stuff from the Bombers.
Yeah, so Bombers get themselves the lead in the gold game right now with that first blood at 4 minutes. On the bottom side, still a CS advantage for Andrew. Balkan's actually not left this lane. You realize the teleport came back for Bio, so this could be a repeat.
He's got the Ghost Pyro in that bush that I would have seen earlier, perhaps, if it was warded, and a second ward placed in front of him.
Oh boy, Bio's going to have to run. He knows the jig is up there. And there's the Flash Cocoon. They're going to try to secure kill number 2 here. Mimic going in, looking for a little bit of extra damage. Repel, up and out. Mimic is going to get the kill, but this time he'll trade his life for it.
Did he get executed? No, he didn't. They got the trade kill in the end, so thankfully for BioPanther, while it doesn't feel very good that he dies again, they trade top lane kills. The wave, however, that's really bad. Look at the minions that BioPanther's about to miss in that top lane. You can see a big stack of blue dots on the minimap. That is one of the worst feelings because Mimic, he'll come back to lane, he'll catch it back, and he'll be happy with a lead as well.
He will be, but the Direwolves do have a CS lead to contend with on the opposite side. Another hook comes in onto the Tahm Kench into the play. 1 tower shot, 2 taken now by Corporal. A little bit carelessness there, but they are playing very aggressive. And Ubisoft is actually going to find Balkan, but that's a big cocoon. Balkan doesn't want to go all in on him.
Yeah, I don't think Ubisoft minds too much when his bottom lane is right there to help. They've got the push priority in bottom lane pretty consistently at the moment. And by having that priority, it means they're able to move first. So
I just think this is impressive that they have gotten the jump so well onto FBI and Rogan. You can argue it's definitely in the champion choices, but it's also just the evolution of this young 2v2 now. Let's see if they can stay alive here.
It feels like they want Balkan.
They do. Repel, there's nowhere for him to go except onto Andrew.
Oh, dear.
Ooh, Condemn goes the opposite way, and Udi is going to be forced to take the Lantern back in. 3v3 has gotten a little wonky here as Rogue gets played back in.
Rogue's very
Health
low.
is on. Do they have the damage flashing forward? Udisoft, they get him. And Balkan, FBI running away.
And it felt a little bit awkward at first, but the end result is still the kill going into the pockets of Direwolves. And it's the Vayne of all people that picks that up as well, the carry champion for the team. This has been such a promising start from the 2v2 from the bottom lane of Direwolves, and they bring the jungler in, and it still goes in their way, even if the initial skirmish was shaky.
Hey, we talked about how we wanted to see the Direwolves play it more aggressively early on. I definitely pinpointed the mid lane, you know, looking at what Gitback did yesterday, or rather what he didn't do, but it was the bottom lane that's really getting the ball rolling here, and Direwolves have pulled with an even keel of Bombers.
Certainly have been so far. Udisoft has been on the farm. You can see the difference between junglers all the time that Balkan spent on the top side of the map has reaped rewards for this Xin Zhao, who's in a pretty comfy position at the moment. But what you have to take stock of, I mean, above all else right now, is the summoner spells that are or are not available. No flash for Balkan is one big reason as to why they looked aggressively Direwolves. You know, why they, in the first place, chose him as the primary target. But at the same time, there's no heal for Andrew, and there is no flash for Udisoft and Biopanther. So there is still the top side of the map that needs to be dealt with. And there is always an opportunity for a lane swap with the Tahm Kench in the game once he hits level 6.
That is true. Mimic has the level 6 versus Biopanther, so has the prio to keep him down on the farm game. And Bio's going to have a rough one for a little while. I think we kind of guessed this just from the pick and ban phase, and he might need a little bit of assistance, but Udisoft is likely going to be needed elsewhere. Balkan moves up towards the top here into the jungle of Direwolves. Yeah. Looking for the repeat. Oh, misses that cocoon. Get back is there to scout it.
He hasn't rushed boots of mobility here, Balkan, so he's not going to play that style of Elise that you just see in 3 lanes all the time. He may actually just prioritize 2 of the 3, perhaps hover, get vision, but play more, I would say, like a standard jungle. You know, Elise, if she rushes Mobies, like any champion that rushes boots of mobility, just wants to be everywhere on Summoner's Rift, running around at high pace. Not this time around.
So do you think this is just something that's Balkan's preference, or do you think that's actually more advantageous to go for the damage dealing first?
As in going for the completed
Yeah.
jungle item. I just think it's about the state of the map. Like, if that first dive in top lane works and the second one is successful on top of that, you have enough money for Moby Boots, right? Whereas perhaps he didn't, because the difference in cost is there. And so he's gone for the brown bags and a dark set.
Fair enough.
And that probably then reflects in his next items, because you can't buy Mobies, and if you don't get them on the first clear, maybe not as nice, like not as feel-good a purchase to have them, because you want to be sprinting around the map earlier to have that impact. Elise, naturally with Cocoon, has a lot of crowd control, has a lot of impact. We mentioned already how good she is at diving, so those strengths actually complement the boots of mobility.
You'd think it'd be a little more expensive for Elise to buy boots as well than
I
other
just
champions.
said boots of mobility.
It does happen. But yeah, you know, it's got to be hard shopping for boots with your Elise. You got to get 8.
That's just, they wouldn't fit either. You need custom boots. They're more expensive as well.
Change her to be more like Cassiopeia, you know? Used to be the whole boot on the head. Nah, not anymore. She doesn't even need no boots.
You could make Elise that when she switches to spider form, she sprints. You know, like has ghost on type of move
That would be
speed.
terrifying.
But then in human form,
I
is
am still
slow.
having nightmares about redback spiders, by the way. Mimic has found Biopanther inside of his own pit. There's the riposte, and into the ground challenge he goes. Bio's in trouble. Maiden in the Mist is not doing a whole lot right now. Needs to get in closer, flashes into the brush, and Mimic don't care. Goodbye, ghoul friend.
Yeah, the second that ultimate connects from Mimic and all 4 vitals have been hit, he was going to win that trade. And Biopanther knew it. You could see from the moment it connected, and he was fighting in the middle of a healing circle. He pretty much stood still and said, oh dear. But then reinvigorated himself and flashed away to try and maybe trade. But it was already too late.
It was a nice attempt, but unfortunately Bio's going to fall down once more in the solo. Here is the bait out from Balkan in this brush. FBI and Rogue.
This is a good look here from them. Corporal is the one who you'd be trying to find, and it's a little bit tragic that the Flay didn't hit, as here he goes.
Oh, no. He walked the right direction. Unfortunately, he's still forced to flash, and the heal even comes in for Andrew. And now Udisoft waiting in the wings.
The bait was going both ways. Bombers already had their jungler in position, however. You can see the Elise starting to wrap around.
Everybody's coming to this party.
Dive. Udi.
Get back and Ryoma are both here too.
Yeah, everyone's coming down for a party. But it is still the Bombers, like we mentioned. They had the first
It's
move.
their party, Rusty. This is the team that is in first place right now. They need to win every single game to keep one step ahead of the Chiefs, but they have just been playing out of their minds this split with this lineup. And Direwolves, there's a reason they're in last place. This is a team that needs to grow still. Fundamentals still need to be worked on. Bombers just have a couple of steps ahead.
We've seen the Bombers pushed at different points of the game. We've seen them pushed in early games against teams like, I think it was Order that pushed them pretty hard, got a lead, and then they recovered in the late game. We've seen the Chiefs push them in late game, one of the few teams that have actually taken them down.
The only team.
But they've also come back from a lot of those deficits. You know, every other team that has pushed them at a moment in the game, whenever that may be, Bombers have found a way back into the game. They've found a way to bounce back just through raw individual skill and strong cerebral map movements out of them. And again, one of those examples, at least in the bush, well before Udisoft can get to the area. So even if he's there, and the reason that gank works is because Udi did come bot, and so Corporal steps up. But he wouldn't step up if it was just a 2v2, you know?
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of a little bit? That whole, like, falling behind consistently against a lot of the pack and still coming back no matter what. The like 2-3 years ago SKT, where they would always get like challenged in the early game.
Oh,
and then they would just like no matter what, you're like, well, they obviously aren't going to lose.
You mean the best
SKT? Them come back every time.
The best SKT that's
and yeah,
ever
that's what
Rift.
I mean. It's like the top tier SKT. And I'm not saying Bombers are that team, but as far as the OPL goes,
you know,
they are on that level comparatively.
I can't find myself agreeing with the comparative sense because SKT is still the type of squad that from a 10k deficit would win a team fight. And I don't think any team...
Bombers haven't got to that level. I think it's just a stylistic similarity that I'm noticing. It's a very surface level thing. And Ghouls are on Mimic, but Balkan's here again. Bio's trying to walk it away, but he's got no flash. Once more, trying to run it out, and ring around the tower is not going to happen. Good juggle on the aggro again.
That tower shot really hurt, but he was already dead, so they're okay. They push forwards and tower plates. It really doesn't seem to matter that Balkan is missing all of his cocoons, because they're just doing so much damage in the respective lanes that he's ganking for. It just doesn't seem to change a single thing about the outcome of the ganks. If he was hitting them, just imagine how much more clean these ganks would be.
Regardless of how clean it is, they're getting the job
They're
done. Let's see if
forcing the
Direwolves
trade.
answer on the opposite side. They've got the box down. Corporal taking too many shots as he goes golden to reset the aggro. Mimic comes in for the play. Can he get the outplay? They'll get back.
One's
He's taken
dead.
down by Ryoma, and the assist from the tower. Bio getting FBI, but Bio Panther's going to die to the tower shots anyways. The triple kill for the Rise coming out of nowhere. He's going to get another one. How about that with a quadra at 13 minutes?
And they try to dive the Bombers, who have 2 teleports available. Direwolves, they look for the cross map, they think it's the right play, and without Balkan even in the fight, they get a quadra kill on Ryoma, who steps up super big on that Rise. And what a showing out of the mid laner of Bombers. Once again, their strengths are just unparalleled.
It's ridiculous how well this team can react to this dive. Here it is again, double teleports.
And it's quick, it's early. The teleports are almost matched identically to Biopanther coming down here. Get back, he dies to the turret as well, but Roma's been hitting him. Biopanther also dying to the turret, I might add. But it's the Rise ultimate that really hits this home hard going forwards. And one auto attack off dying Roma locks down his 4th. I think we can all look in hindsight, Pyre, and say that dive, probably not a smart decision, but I think they felt like it just at worst would be a 4v5. But that turret really added up damage to make it so much more than that.
I think that the decision was something that Direwolves needed to make. We wanted to see them being more aggressive. They're certainly committing to plays. The issue is the execution is just not quite there. Bombers do a great job of dancing in and out of the zones where they can get hit. And the tower, as you pointed out, does a lot of work here. Get back is going to find out Balkan as he has to come back down. And Udisoft tags in. There's a big shutdown given over to the jungler.
Yeah, nice amount of gold. Zinzao is someone that will be very happy to receive that influx of money as well, and it happens right on top of the Rift Herald. So you'd expect the Direwolves, as you can see, will be hitting that one right now, and it is on vision if the Bombers choose to go there. Tahm Kench is in the area, but Rise is bot lane and does not have his teleport. So this is going to be a Rift Herald secured completely for free on top of the kill. So Direwolves fighting in the right place.
Yeah, start to get something back for themselves after that bot dive goes horribly wrong. Ryoma's completely big on the board right now, so he can just go full on into that side lane as he would want to do as the later stage of the game, but looks like Bomber's going to try to make a play with his help. Down in the bot, they're looking to cut off Bio.
He has to flash.
He's got flash. He knows he has to use it. He's out of there, but that's a feels bad, man.
If that's just where they're at, you know, the mid priority that a Tahm Kench provides side lanes is ridiculous. And poor Bio Panther has to use his flash just for a Tahm Kench ulti, which means they're coming back. They will find him when that ult's available again.
2 and 5, likely to see a lot more in the death column right now. BioPanther has been the Bombers' punching bag for this game. The Wolfpack will move up to the top side, pop the Rift Herald to get a charge in or two, and Mimic will soon be there. Unfortunately, all of the plates are long since fallen, so no extra gold for the Direwolves.
But you take the full turret, it's taken in one big chunk as well, so a good push there from the Direwolves making a trade, and this is an actual cross-map play that you would say is very successful for them. Bot lane being pushed still, however. Ryoma will be able to 1v1 BioPanther for sure. And so this is not easy. If you look at a Yorick and the Maiden is available, and you just stand in front of that Yorick and kill the Maiden, that's how you know you're too fed.
Just a little bit.
Because that thing is a nuisance, and Yorick should be able to defend it with his life. But not anymore.
Things have changed. York having a hard time here. Once again, Balkan's found out. He's forced to flash that time around, so the Direwolves have gone spider hunting this game.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I would say this has been a little bit shaky of a game from Balkan. His decisions have been fairly sound, but even in the mid-game now, he starts to falter in those decisions.
His
and
positioning, really.
Has been out of position, you're right.
Seems like he finds himself in these weird situations. He was close enough to at least flash into his team, but...
Yeah, and he's still Elise, so he's very hard to kill at the very least, like covering up that fact. If other champions were there, he might have died. But it doesn't matter. His job to win this game is just not die, and he's doing it.
Yeah. Apart from the one time, he's done pretty solid. Ryoma will take another tower down bottom, and Andrew finds Mimic. Now this is a bit of a deadly battle here with the riposte going the opposite way. Andrew trying to tumble into the final hour. He goes backing away, but Mimic says not today and takes him down. Melee versus ranged.
I really don't know if that's the fight you want to take. Hook on in the mid lane. I don't think that's one either, so they're just going to have to call that a day. Rogue walks it out. If you're dueling a Fiora, and you give 4 vital procs by tumbling in a circle around her, you're probably going to lose the trade. And that's exactly what we see in the top side. Andrew, unfortunately, in an attempt to juke the Fiora, just gifts the free vital procs, and there's no way you're killing her once again once those 4 vitals have been hit.
Yep. Sometimes you get outplayed. Sometimes you outplay yourself.
It's all a mind game, however. You have to take steps on the assumptions of what your opponents will do. That's the thing. 1v1s.
I like the bold decision, though, to just say, you know what, if I get this kill, as Balkan might get killed himself, he's got really nowhere to go but to the Gromp. Flashing forward, Udi secures it. He's definitely looked like the better jungler so far. But yeah, I think if you get that kill in your Andrew, it's one of those plays where you look like a genius.
I mean, I'm not here to say that the call was wrong, right? I think he was tumbling below him to try and condemn into the wall, but even then, Mimic used his riposte at the right time if that was happening, and it wasn't. I mean, going for the call, I respect it. And it's something that he'll be able to watch back and be like, I shouldn't just give 4 vital procs in that 1v1, and maybe I can take him.
So what we're really, I think, centering on this game is that looking at Direwolves in their plays and how they're getting outplayed by Bombers somewhat consistently here, is that they are making decisions that seem correct. It's just the execution of those decisions individually and sometimes as a team is still missing a few pieces.
I mean, my takeaway from this game so far has been that you can't beat Bombers through beating their jungler. You have to be able to beat their lanes and just use your jungler to do it, you know? Because if you get Balkan behind, and I guess this is actually just universally true for all of the Bombers as a team, though. Like, they had a lead in bottom lane. Their jungler was at least matching presence around the map, maybe not getting kills, but matching it. Their top lane and mid lane have a big game. If you win the mid lane, there's a chance their bot lane has a big game. Like, you need to be able to win lane and win game against this team. You can't just pick a single role like the jungle.
And that's a tall order, absolutely. Here comes the Realm Warp out of Ryoma. They get the root down. Rune Prison onto Corporal, forced to flash, throws the box. The Maiden of the Mist is left to fend for itself. And that is a scary Bomber squad. 9,000 gold in the lead, moving them away from the Baron Pit, which will be housing a big, angry purple dragon worm in the next 15 seconds.
It certainly will. Of course, good little disengage there from Direwolves, using the Lantern to get out. Not a lot of health remaining on them does mean they have to completely exit the Baron area. Direwolves, they've got a feeling, there's a suspicion that the Baron may just be done on spawn, and you'll see them probably try and check. But walking into and Elise in a Rise could be dangerous.
Yeah, usually not a wise decision.
So
they
they
do
hold
see where
back.
Balkan is as he clears out the control ward. Ryoma running through that brush as well. Direwolves
their
massing
chance,
near their own
though.
blue buff.
Direwolves.
Get back's waiting and watching. Let's see if they can get the execution off. They're going to have to step forward, try and get the pickup, and looks like Get Back grabs the blue at the last second. Nicely played there.
I was really hoping the Direwolves would commit themselves fully to getting the shutdown on Ryoma, but I don't think they could get to position just in time. Get Back was there to get the blue, however, so they take that. That's a small victory. You have to be happy with that. And now we've got the Dragon that's about to be up, as well as the Baron that is already there. Direwolves start to get pulled apart around the rift is what you would expect to see. And we'll have to watch very closely as to how Bombers execute this.
All right, Balkan Ryoma are just going to straight up start off this Baron. FBI and Rogue are coming through, still leaving Mimic on the side lane because they know they're strong enough to pull this off. Balkan a little
This
bit
is
low in
being
the back
done
of the
very
pit.
quickly.
This is going to go without any answer right now. Direwolves realize too late that it's going to happen. Taken for free. And they're going to just go straight for the fight as Direwolves check in.
Yeah, the
Disengage.
Baron just completely freely secured. Direwolves were aware, you know, they've been aware for the past minute and 15 seconds that Baron was something the Bombers would look towards. But it's one thing to know, and it's another thing to actually get to the area and try and stop it from happening. Because as it stands, there's just so much threat on the map. You can't face check a Rise Elise. You know, you can't walk into the Lucian as they lock you down and kill you within a second flat. Side lanes are such a big problem for them. But now the Baron's there, side lanes are a bigger problem.
Yeah, you need to make a play, and at this point, where do you even go? Because it's a 2-2-1 that's basically happening across the map. No one can deal with Mimic, but at the same token, no one can really deal with anyone else. Let's see if they take down Balkan as the teleport comes in. It deters any further aggression. Rogue comes through, lands a tongue lash onto Udisoft, and they're forced back inside their base. Meanwhile, BioPanther's calling desperately for backup as Mimic knocks on the front door, taking it down. This is looking really dire for the Wolves.
Yeah, this isn't looking very good. At a certain point, you just don't go bottom and say, all right, we've got a 15-second window to get kills right now. Direwolves, they're desperate. They are looking.
And they're trying to knock Ryoma out of his own realm warp. He will flash away, but he takes down
He's
the
gonna
Xinjiao,
go.
and
He's
they turn
fighting.
it right around. How about them apples? He's going to get 1 and 2, looking for Get Back as well. Meanwhile, the Bombers are on the base, and Direwolves see their hopes extinguished here in this game. Bombers will keep themselves in the first place position. And how about this? It's got to be a record of some kind. 22.5 minutes, and there is no one left opposing them on this Nexus.
That was a 2v4 from Ryoma on the top side of the map with Balkan. And they just murder everyone in front of them. Meanwhile, the Nexus is dying.
That was dirty, man.
That's a statement. We said Bombers have to win this game. They come in knowing full well that they do. Stay ahead of the Chiefs is the game plan for the rest of the split for the Bombers. Well, that was a 22.5-minute victory to keep themselves in front.
Well, we did talk about how it was the most lopsided matchup that we have here in the OPL, and that result kind of speaks for itself. I do want to give the Direwolves some credit for trying to make plays. You know, you got to take what you can from this game. You got to take what you can from this split because it is all about learning for this young squad.
Yeah, absolutely. They had some early game movements that you thought were not too bad. They picked for skirmishing in the bottom lane. Their coach mentions it, and they actually win a skirmish almost immediately afterwards.
Yeah, the 2v2 was good. It's just when the game got out of hand, I mean, as soon as Ryoma had 4 kills, it kind of felt over because they just took over on the Bomber side.
Yeah, and the top lane got a lot of focus here from them, and Elise and a Fiora. I mean, you pick a Fiora, you know you're going to commit to side lane split pushing, and Balkan, Mimic, good friends. Of course, they're going to hit that one home together, and they get the ganks off. It's successful, and just like that, a snowball starts. So all the good things that Direwolves did, they can take that away for themselves, but know full well that Bombers had an answer, and there was nothing they could do to that.
Yeah, not a whole lot possible for the Direwolves to do, unfortunately. Let's see what the couch makes of that real quick game.
It was David and Goliath odds. Unfortunately, Goliath got over the edge.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well, sure.
Yep.
I was going with mine, but you could just... Yeah, I mean, it pretty much was that because that's now 17 losses for the Direwolves.
Yeah, that was just a super rough game. I think, like, going into it, the early game actually looked very good. The bottom lane of Bombers was somewhat just getting boomed by the Vayne and Thresh combination. Like Charlie was saying it at the interview, they're comfortable in that one, and then they performed very admirably, like, up until the point the game was broken open. And I think, like, the most interesting point for me is that Bombers are cementing themselves as the best at using TP for like the cross-map answers, right? They constantly look for something. This game, it was like Elise Fiora playing on the top side. They're looking to keep punishing BioPanther, but whilst doing that, they're not completely conceding the other side of the map. Like Rogue, he's hit his 10-minute timing where he has stopwatch, so they're baiting in Direwolves. They know that Direwolves going to look for the bot lane dive, and then they punish top side and then immediately TP, and that is a very that is a very heavy win, right? You're winning both sides of the map. You're playing strong side, you're answering the weak side, and against teams like the Direwolves that look for that very obvious play, it's working very well.
Yeah, it certainly is, but at a certain point, that play shouldn't be working, because when you have a look at how this game is if you have a LeBlanc and a Xin Zhao, you should force Ryze to take cleanse, or otherwise Ryze should die for not taking cleanse. But that's just obviously Ryoma saying, you know what, this guy's not going to land a chain on me once I have my speedy what's it called? Phase rush going. Yeah. I'm just going to run around. I'm going to be able to 2v1. But ultimately, the reason you pick something like Xin Zhao LeBlanc is the ability to impact mid lane. And I think that this has been something that in the games this weekend, to be critical, because we keep saying that the Direwolves, they're learning this split. But it's in the second last week, and I don't know whether they've learned all that much this split so far. So, when you pick things like LeBlanc and Xin Zhao, you got to be able to gank the mid lane. The only reason you would take that 2v2, because, Xin Zhao ain't putting anything past 15 minutes. Trust me, I'm the Xin Zhao wizard. He's just there to get, the lanes ahead in the early game. And I think that, the fact that they couldn't get back out of that lane, he's not roaming around the map. He's not impact any of these plays. He's not going to be able to beat the Ryze in the 1-3-1 late game. That's just game over as soon as they get to match. Yorik's not going to be able to beat late game Ryze in the 1-3-1 either. So as soon as they have Tahm Kench, you're if we don't get something done early and they just get into their 1-3-1, Rogue's a really good Tahm Kench player. He's going to pick the side of the map that just is going to die on cooldown. And I think that is something that, they just weren't able to execute in this game, which is disappointing to see. Because, I don't even think they threw a gank towards mid lane. I'm trying to remember one. And Ubisoft, wasn't active enough, in my opinion.
Is Rogue a really good Tahm Kench player? Let's find out by asking Rogue.
I think he licked the whole team, to be honest, so well played there.
Nick and Smith lives through me.
There you go.
In the 1-3-1.
Good stuff. All right, so you had, out of all the Bombers, your lane probably had a little bit of the roughest time early on. Was that a little surprising to you that the Vayne and Thresh just got in your face early?
I think we spent so long thinking about bot lane matchups. We were covering every possibility in every universe for these bot lane matchups.
You were galaxy braining
in pick ban.
Okay.
And then we just forgot the one where maybe they pick Thresh instead of Lucian. And then as soon as we did that, we were like, oh no, I'm just a frog now. So I think we screwed ourselves over a lot in pick ban. We messed up a bit level 2, but we just played to the team. That's what me and Vic said. We just played to the team.
You recovered. You won the game in 22.5 minutes. And now, looking ahead, you guys need to keep every game in the win column because you don't want to give Chiefs a chance to catch up to you. Are there any teams you're worried that could knock you down a peg before the end of the regular split?
So this is one of the interviews I did before. We haven't lost a game to a team that isn't Chiefs, so I don't see why we would start losing games to teams that aren't Chiefs now. So confident we'll go into grand final. I think going forth into this next week, I kind of thought about it. We're 8 games away from MSI. And that's the way to look at it. And, we play 3 matches next week. That's the same as a gauntlet. If we win these 3 matches, then that's grand final. That's the same as playing that gauntlet match. So, our gauntlet begins now.
Eyes on the prize. I like it. Thank you so much for joining me, Rogue.
Thanks, mate.
Alrighty, now as we have partnered with Headspace and Lava for Recall and Restore Week, we published a set of videos on how you can help maintain a healthy balance.